Welcome to Interglow Wellness's very first Transitional Summit, a gathering designed to awaken your full potential and align your mind, body, and energy, and empower you to create lasting transformation in every aspect of your life. Started. Now, what today is going to be about is about health and nutrition, as well as using my proven method called the neurofitness method. We're going to break down exactly how that method is. We've added a special guest, Mrs. Frances Graham, and I thank her for participating. And she is going to start us off with a sound bath, and we are going to do a little qigong with that. So, Miss Frances, are you ready to join us?
Yes. Thank you so much, Diane, for having me. I'm so excited to learn about your method, and I am honored to be a guest on here today. My name is Frances Graham, and I own a company called Qigong and Sound. It's taking the ancient moving meditation practice that's similar to Tai Chi called Qigong to balance out the body, mind, and spirit and change people's lives for the better by stopping overthinking and bringing in beautiful chi energy for them to fulfill their life to the highest level. And then I combine that modality with sound. And everybody knows about sound here. If they don't, they're going to have a little bit of a mini sound bath here. We can only do so much sound over the airways, but you'll still feel the frequencies because frequencies move through the earth no matter where they are in the different fields that we work in, right? So it doesn't matter where we are, if we're online or we're in person, we're all working with the frequencies. And I'm gonna go ahead and do a 5-minute sound bath right now. And then we'll end after this. We've opened our body up with a little bit of sound. We're gonna go ahead and do a 5-minute practice together, just easy practice. And I'll walk you through the 6 different areas of Qigong, just the basics. And we'll do one move on each area of the 6 basics of Qigong. Okay, so I'm going to move my screen to the sound table here. And if everybody wants to, let's start with a breath a little bit. So put your arm or your hands on your knees, or you can lay on the ground, whatever is more comfortable for you. And I want you to just wiggle your body, roll the neck, move the jaw, kind of shake out the hips a little bit, wiggle, 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 loosey-goosey, make the body just relaxed. And we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose. We're going to hold that for a few seconds, and then we're going to exhale with a sigh through our mouth. Sinking into wherever you're sitting or laying, very gentle. Let's go in through the nose again. Holding that for 3 seconds, and then exhaling with a sigh. Now let's do one last breath. So we always do everything in 3 with Qigong. Deep breath in through the nose. Really expanding the chest. Holding that for 3. And then exhaling for as long as you can. Remember, when you're exhaling, make an audible sigh. You want the sounds to come out of your body and feeling of relaxation to come over your body. You should be only having the thoughts of how you're feeling and not actual thoughts when you're doing that. So it's something you can practice on doing. So I'm going to move the screen, and we're going to start the sound bath, and I'm going to move you through the chakras. We're going to start at the crown, then go to the third eye, the throat, the heart, the solar plexus, the sacral chakra, and the root, and then end with a little bit of combining all those sounds together with a tongue steel drum. Okay, let's begin.
Thank you for joining me in sound. Just want to go over some Qigong moves with you now that you've opened up your body with sound. Your body might feel like it went through a little bit of a journey, moving up all the way down and then all around with a tug steel drum. We're opening up areas in our body that have been stagnant for a long time. So remember to drink a lot of water after hearing sound, whether it be online or in person. Let's do some practices together now. Let's go through the 6 areas of Qigong. We're going to quickly go through this since I have a time limit here. And the first area of Qigong we're going through is called meridian stretching. And let's do that for the season of spring, which is right now. We're in the liver element, right under your right rib.
Liver represents detoxing the body. It holds on to anger, resentment, and frustration. And we're going to bring in good liver chi today and do a meridian stretch for the whole body and the liver channel. So let's do that together. As I stand up, you can stand up too. What you're going to do is you're going to put your hands together and then take a deep breath in and then push your body up like so, really feeling the stretch, kind of wiggling a little bit and feeling that whole meridian stretch. Meridians are the channels that go through your arms and your legs and all the other areas of your body, and they're like branches of a tree that connect to the main tree and all the organs. It's responsible for everything in the body. It's responsible for causing disease if you have stagnant chi in your meridians. It's also responsible for giving you vibrant energy if your meridian channels are unblocked and they're free. This does that. It unblocks the meridian channels. So now let's go to this side and really feel the stretch as you expand. Really holding this here for 7 seconds. 4, 5, 6, 7. Coming back to the center, pushing up. Now let's go to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Back to the center, pushing up and releasing that meridian stretch. Of course, there are hundreds of meridian stretches you can learn from me online, one-on-one, and a virtual monthly program. But that's just one I'm showing you today. So let's go to the second area of Qigong, which is called accumulating and strengthening. And we're just going to do a quick move together that will allow us to do that. And so we're going to go into something that's called horse stance. Let me go over here so you can see me a little bit better. So horse stance is you're just in a squat here, and then you're just going to go to one side and stretch that out and feel into it for a few seconds on each side. So good 7 seconds. Now just come back up to center. We're always going and highlighting this lower dantian area, just like this. Let's go to the other side. And go back to center, right like this. Now let's go to the third area of Qigong, which is tapping and releasing. You can sit down with this or stand up. What you're gonna do is you're gonna double tap the lower dantian. I actually prefer standing, so I'm gonna go ahead and stand. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna double tap the lower dantian. And what this does is it grounds you and it releases anxiety. If you're really anxious about something, even if you're in public and you double tap the lower dantian, you're going to get a great relaxation, a calming of the overactive thoughts. It's just a lovely practice, the double tapping of the lower dantian. Okay, now let's go back into the fourth area, which is breathing and meditating. Actually, breathing. Let's do breathing 4. So with breathing, you always want to kind of put your hands here. And right now we're going to do something called a chi nourishing on the lower dantian. And I want you to breathe in and out very deeply and intentionally with your eyes closed as you're feeling the movement of the lower dantian. We're going to move from this move to a little bit of a 10, or let's do a 15-second meditation. That's a moving meditation, okay? So we're going to take our hands to the side. We're going to come up to the crown and we're going to push the energy down. This is called sinking your chi. SYNCING, your CHI, chi, vital force energy, vital life force energy. Okay, you always want to go slow with these movements. So if you're doing this, this is not good. This is great here. Slowly coming up to the crown and then slowly pushing down, calming down that energy in the head, moving the passion and purpose to where the sacral chakra is in the root. Let's do that one last time. Okay, now the sixth area is where you're doing more of a chi meditation. So you want to tap your fingers together. Really feel the energy in your palms, like going to heart center and tapping the fingers. And what you're going to do is you're going to close your eyes and imagine there's like a Pokemon ball or a ball of fire in your lower belly, levitating between your hands, and your hands are the magicians of energy. You're closing your eyes and you're dancing with your own vital life force energy. You're playing and dancing with it, and you're just really getting involved in it. A good way to really connect with this energy is by attaching a word that you identify with. Today, my word is authenticity. It's the highest frequency in the world. It's even above love. So I'm attaching the word authenticity to this fiery ball as I'm moving with the energy. Okay? There's so many advanced things we can do with meditation after you've moved your body with Qigong. Now let's end with the last area of Qigong, and that is more of the flow movements. Okay, so we're going to do a really quick flow together. We're only going to do 2 of each. The first one's called compressing your pearl. So you're going to take your hands out. You're going to slowly come in. Take your hands out again. Slowly come in. And then you're going to turn that flow into floating hands. And you're going to press the energy down very slow. Hands just hang, and then they press down. And then we're going to change that into the last move, which is scooping up and upholding the moon. We have a new moon today. It's a new moon day, so we're going to uphold our new goals so we can turn into a full moon. Scooping down and then upholding the moon. And let's just stay here in this movement, breathing organically and releasing. Thank you for joining me with sound and Qigong.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I feel very open now. I thought I was open before. Thank you very much, Miss Francis. Namaste. Now I have just a few questions I wanted for you. I was just curious to think about those participating. How would you explain how sound bath and Qigong work to impact their nervous system and impact them overall?
I actually think that is an excellent question, Diane. The thing is we can't really do anything in life. We cannot work. We cannot have a relationship. We cannot be there for our family if we are burned out or overwhelmed in our nervous system. The largest nerve in our body is called the vagus nerve, and it gets all floppy like this when we've had too much flight or flight response, which means always hurrying up to fix something, or having trauma over and over and over and over, or having a hectic schedule where you're never given a break. So what we do when we reset the vagus nerve is there's some exercises you can do for that. But Qigong is the best because it helps us get into a mode of connecting with ourselves and calming down all the mind chatter. I call it, clutter, mind clutter.
Okay.
And it also helps us ground in our body so we're fearlessly unshakable in whatever decision we have to make. So Qigong is great at that. And really, you have to practice this about 9 months or more to see the difference. But then after you will do it for the rest of your life, because it not only increases your longevity, but it calms your nervous system down to the point where you're really ready to do all these things you were not excited about before because you're in a calm state.
Oh, wow. And that answered my next question, because I was
sorry about that.
No, you did. Because I was going to ask, what's the additional benefit to Qigong? So you answered that for me. Now, speak a little bit about the bowls and how because I did feel the resonating from them. And it was just like, it changed a little bit of how I felt.
Yes.
About my body.
Yeah, and Diane, it's going to target what you are deficient in. That's called vitamin S. That's what we call vitamin S, which is our vitamin sound. Okay. It's
Oh,
like vitamins for your body. Sound is the first thing created in creation. He
okay.
created sound first. So with that being said, it's the original form of vitamins for our body is vitamin S. So wherever you're feeling it in your body, that's where you needed it the most. And
Yes.
so it's not just bowls, it's not just instruments. I'm actually a tuning fork sound therapist, which is targeted sound. So if you've been to sound baths, that's wonderful for releasing certain things. But if you get a tuning fork sound therapy treatment, we're able to target that in all these fields of your electromagnetic field, 6 feet from your body, and clear out things that have been keeping you stuck for years. Sound releases and sound replenishes.
That was my next. See, you're ahead of the game today, Miss Francis. I like that. That was going to be my next, because when I saw that in your thing, we didn't get to talk about that, about the tuning forks and how much more in tune they can be to whatever you have going on. So as you're saying, they can target specific areas when we have something going on.
Yes, absolutely. Like
Okay.
it could be as simple as your mom had a bad behavior, or your dad, had some bad money problems. It doesn't even matter. That's in your field. And when we can clear it out with the proper musical note, you're starting over with your DNA and you're making things better for your family.
And see, that's a whole thing about holistic wellness, that we have lost our way. We've just, I don't know what it is with the US, that they're not interested in trying to, help their people. We've it's just a shame to how we've gotten. Now my next question is, how intricate does the breath work get with all of this? How does that play a role?
I actually think breath work is incredibly important. And I'm glad that you highlight this with what you do too, Diane. Um, basically, with Qigong, as you're doing certain releasing and holding and gathering on the moves, you're
Mhm.
going inhaling and exhaling. So when you actually get to where you have to do more rapid breath work, the real healing kind of breath work, your body's already trained and your nervous system isn't overwhelmed when you go to the more extensive breath work, because it prepares you for that.
Okay. Now that's good. Now, do you offer, where you're located in Arizona, correct?
Yes, in Tempe, Arizona, right next to ASU.
Okay. Now, where you are out there, it is such a beautiful area. Do you do any type of retreats or things of that nature where you bring people to you?
I do. I've been holding retreats for many years. I was also a private vegan chef, and I moved into spirituality. The chef work opened up my creativity and then opened up my spirituality. So I do retreats that are in Sedona
Okay.
and all over the world. We have one coming up in Sedona this week. It's a plant ceremony coupled with breath work and qigong and yoga and all kinds of neuro fitness stuff, like
Yeah.
similar to what you do. It's very needed, because if we can't calm down that mind and get it into a good state, we can't do any of this other stuff, right?
And see, that's what I've been trying to impress upon people. The mind is the first way in, because no matter how many things you start off with, and just like with my journey, I was all over the place until I got my mind right. And once I got my mind right, things just start falling in place. And that's what we forget. We got to start at the beginning.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not at the bottom where they're at our feet. We got to start at the top, because that's where everything begins. We forget about that. So I thank you for your time, Miss Francis. It has been amazing. And I'm
Have this cookbook that you can order on Amazon called Surprise, It's Vegan.
okay.
And I was a vegan chef for many years. This is published in 2023. You can get it at 40,000 retailers online. Part of Qigong is realizing how our Qi is working, our energy, right? So
Uh-huh.
80% of that is the water and food we put in our body. And I know you teach about this. So
Yes.
I just wanted to
And
offer that option. Yeah, see, yeah, I just
I
wanted to
first
offer that.
water here. And
So
infusing, and the funny thing that you mentioned, that this is something, when we did our retreat, I have my plate, my tourmaline plate.
oh, cool.
I keep my
Yeah,
water,
I
and
love that.
it keeps it regenerating, and keeps the proper minerals and things going in my water.
That's
And
right.
it's been an interesting thing to see how much better I feel when I'm hydrated.
Yeah.
I notice as soon as I stop drinking my water, I notice, and it's like, hey, wait a minute, what you doing? You're not giving us what we need. What's going on? So I appreciate that, and I will definitely check that out because I've been looking
Thank
for
you.
different avenues to do with my clients that are vegans. So that's something will be definitely helpful. And we thank you again. Namaste. And we will see you again soon, Miss Francis. And
Okay.
do keep us abreast as to when the next retreat is. You know, my daughter's getting ready to have her baby. So I couldn't attend. And I'm like, we can't go because we're like 2 weeks and counting.
I am so happy for you, and I can't wait to see the pictures.
Yes, we will keep in touch. Thank
Okay.
you again. And you have a very good rest of your day.
You
Enjoy that
too.
beautiful weather out there.
Yeah. Take care.
All right. Bye. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was an interesting session. I appreciated that and I enjoyed the sound bath. That was so invigorating for me. And it put me in a different level. I felt as though it like upped my game a little. I hope you appreciate that when you do get a chance to participate in that portion and how mental fitness works within the neural fitness method. That is the beginning of the neural fitness method. Now, what that basically breaks down to being is a program called the PQ method. Now, I don't know if you can put the slides up for me. Now, what the PQ method is, there are 9 different characteristics we all fall within. And it just depends on how we answer the questions within the PQ assessment, determines as to where these categories meet for us. Now, basically, what that does, there are hyperachiever, there are hyper rational, there's saboteur, or not, they're called saboteur. And each of the saboteurs represents how we are and how we interact with the people around us and different situations. This is the type of person that within situations in their life, they are just like will avoid conflict at all costs. They will do whatever it takes to keep people at a distance. And it has a basic description of what they are. But the avoider, what it does, it really causes extra stress when you are putting yourself in that way. It talks about the impact on your wellness, the impact on your performance. They basically procrastinate on different important issues. They procrastinate on their shortcomings. They are just like avoiding confrontation at all costs. They will just keep, like, no, 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 I'm good. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And they will not hold themselves nor others accountable for different things going on in their lives. And they will let things fester to the point where it's just like a whole big giant problem within themselves. They can give themselves gallstones. They can give themselves, what else was it? It also adds, from my understanding, for me personally, I think that was part of the reason I was having the fibroids because different things in procrastination is a big part of the avoider. Now, and also with your relationships, you avoid conflict in your personal life. You just won't hold people accountable. You won't hold yourself accountable, and you just let things just fall all over the place because you don't want to have conflict about whatever's going on. Hi, Miss Sharman. Also, the next one would be, let's see what we have next. We are moving on to the controller. Now, what the controller is, this is someone who is trying to make sure they have control over every single aspect of their lives. When I mean, as far as how the clothes are folded in the hamper, how you interact with people, and who's dominating a conversation. They want to control the most minute things about their lives. And what that does, it puts a severe burden on that particular person because they don't have time to relax. They don't have time to just be. And also, It puts trouble within their relationships, in their family, their friends, their co-workers, anything. And they are super, super about wasting time. They are trying to make sure everybody is on point, and they want everybody to fall within what they consider as being correct. And next we move on to the hyperachiever. Now that person is just going all out of their way to just be the best at everything. They are like so stressed and overreacting on things. They don't like to be admit they are imperfect on any note. They are just like, hey, I am the end all be all. And what that does to a person, it gives them extra stress, and it bogs down everything within them. It messes with their digestion, and that's not on there, but that's what I know as far as one of the additional wellness things that it causes. It what's the name? It impacts how they work, and it makes people not want to be around them because they don't want to be pushed to the level this person usually pushes people that are within their circle. Now we're moving on to the hyper rational. Now, the hyper rational is the person that rationalizes everything. I mean, when it comes to, if something is not working efficiently, they will rationalize why it's not working properly. They will, rationalize people ignoring things. They will rationalize, oh, we can just fix it this way. We can just overlook this way. And it just erodes the trust and vulnerability in that person, because you can't really rely on them, because they're going to rationalize why they didn't do something that needed to get done. And it creates a problem within that person. And that person is just all over the place. Now, within this is where the PQ comes into play, that it is extremely helpful because it gives this person time to sit back and see what the detriment they're causing themselves. And we give them tools to work with to make sure that they're quieting that personality. They're giving that personality basically a timeout and letting that person just be still, relax. The world is not going to just fall apart because you didn't rationalize why certain things happened the way they did. Now, next, we are moving on to the hypervigilant. Now, this is a person that, oh my goodness, is constantly worried, constantly anxious. They are all over the spectrum about emotions. They are over collaborative towards risks and problems that prevents them from going after important opportunities. They are just, it's like they take a particular problem or a particular, like if they're going for promotion, they'll worry themselves to death about every aspect of that particular job. They'll want to be like, if they're supposed to be efficient, they'll be so efficient that it is just, excuse me for a lack of a better word, anal. They will just like be over everything. They'll be like, I need to make sure every T is crossed, every I is dotted. And it brings an extra amount of stress. And when it comes to time wasting, oh my goodness, they have contingencies on top of contingencies. And it is just like, wow, who does that? Because what that does, it gives you no time to really live in the moment and no time to just be, because you're so worried about what if this, what if that, if I did this, would this happen? And it just gives you so much going on in your mind. Your mind is constantly running. There's never like a piece of quiet in that type of person. And within the PQ model, we give you things to help you just be calm and relax and take a second and just breathe As you hear people used to say, smell the roses, breathe the fresh air, and relax. And that's the hypervigilant. And oh my. Next is the pleaser. And I mean, I'm quite sure that's a little self-evident as to what that person is. That person will sugarcoat everything. Everything will come up roses, everything's peaches and cream. There's not a problem in the world. And at that type of thing, you're beginning to wonder, do I want to be around this person, or they become a person that gets taken advantage of very easily because people know that they're going to jump whenever they need something if they go to that particular person, or if they need that particular person to come to them and do something, that person is going to go out of their way to make sure everything is okay. And in turn, majority of the time, they don't do for themselves. They are very neglected. They don't do self-care. They very rarely take care to maintain what's going on in their own lives because they're too busy pleasing others around them. And that is I can say more than detrimental thing to a person. When you're always worried about others' feelings, others having, and making sure others are taken care of versus being taken care of for yourself. And that builds resentment, that causes different attitudes. And it's not something that I'd say that I'd want someone to stay in, because that person ends up being angry, frustrated, and they just end up overall, it's like they aren't really engaged in the world because they hold themselves at a different level. They are too busy doing for others, so anything that they have going on gets left to the wayside. Now, within the PQ model, we give you opportunities to sit down with that and enjoy things. Oh, we already switched to the next one. But for the pleaser, the one thing I found for that, for some of my clients, would be sitting down when you're enjoying a meal. And I was the type of person as a kid, my mother had us cut everything up. But in this instance, when you are a pleaser, you take your time and you do one bite at a time. And you enjoy the taste of the food, how the food feels in your mouth, how the food smells, and how you feel the food going down into your esophagus. That gives you a chance to please yourself first. And that's one of the things we work out with the pleasers. Now, on to the next one. With the relentless, this person doesn't stick to stuff long enough to get things done. They're there for a hot minute, and then it's like, oops, something else takes their attention away. They can't stay focused. I feel like that right now. And the next thing is they have trouble holding people accountable. Yeah, and I see that. I said relentless. It is restless. I'm going to work on my eyesight today. I don't know what it is with this screen. You can't make it bigger. So I am squinting a little bit. I apologize for that. Now, this next part of this. Now my daughter's being smart. She asked me, am I wearing my contacts? Yes, I am, dear. But you would swear I wasn't, the way this makes me feel right now. But the restless person has a propensity of not being able to stay focused. They are all over the place, like 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there. And it's like, wow, I can't stay focused on anything. I am everywhere. And they start something, start the next thing. And they've gotten all these little projects all over the place, and nothing is ever finished. So it's like, what in the world? It's like almost like how I think that when you want to give it a name, how the doctors give it, like the kids with ADHD are very restless. They are all over the place. Now with this, with the PQ method, we give you tools like meditation, where you start off with like a 2 minute or a 1 minute meditation to give yourself time to just easy and focus on one thing for 1 minute. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there is one that's even as short as 30 seconds, where you give yourself 30 seconds to focus on something. And then you move it up in increments of 30 seconds or a minute. That way, you're building on getting out of the restlessness. And that's one of the things with the PQ method. Now, next, the stickler. Now, that one, that's the most interesting of all. They get lost in the weeds and lose sight of the big picture of what's around them. They are always wasting efforts, wasting time, just doing unnecessary stuff. It reminds me, and and it's one of my pet peeves, and my kids will attest to this. I hate lint balls. I am the weirdo. I will sit there and get the lint balls off of everything. And that is the most sticklerest thing I can think of for myself, that I'm constantly, and that just, it's like, it just rubs me the wrong way when I see lint balls. I'm like, oh my God. And it's like, oh, I've got to get them. And I've worked out of that. And it's just funny. My one daughter was like, you're not going to get the lint ball off? Are you okay? And I was like, yeah. I said, it's okay. The world won't end if you have a lint ball on you. I'll live. And she's like looking at me like, who are you? And I'm like, hey, I have evolved with the PQ method. It is not necessary for me to just get every piece of lint off of everybody I know. I've moved on. And that's one of the things that it teaches us, to just sometimes let things be. Give things a minute. Now, next, we have, oh my. Whew. Now, this one is rather interesting. The victim. Now, this person just, oh my goodness, everything happens to them. They are just going through it. They are just, they don't have any belief that anything positive is going to happen to them. They are so defeatist, and they just feel like, oh my goodness, I'll just be okay with whatever happens. I'm okay. The world will keep moving. I'll survive. And they are just like, they don't want to hold accountability for any part of anything. Anything that happens to them, oh my God, it's just happening to me. The world is against me. The world is out to get me. And it's just like, oh, they are just looking for someone to just care for them and do for them. They have such resentment and self-pity for things that go on in their lives. And it's just a constant problem. They are just probably the most negative people you want to be around. And within that, the PQ method works with that. It gives you a chance to look at each situation within your life and just give it a minute and look at it from a distance instead of up close, and see that, hey, maybe that thing was a positive thing that happened. Maybe that thing was what needed to happen to you at that moment. And to be okay with some things and not make it about being a victim. And the next we have is the all-time favorite, is the judge. Now, the judge, that's where, I don't know if you guys think of this in the way I do, where you have your little person on your shoulder, the angel and the devil, and where they are constantly saying things and pointing out things that aren't going right and that you're not doing, and that they work on eroding your self-esteem and your confidence and how you feel about yourself. And when it comes to your wellness, it gives stress, It promotes fear, it promotes guilt, and it promotes shame. And in that, it's like you focus on the wrong things rather than what you need to be focused on. And the judge makes you feel extra vulnerable in everything that you do, that you're constantly like, checking your sides and seeing like, am I good enough for whatever it is? Is that person really going to love me? Is that person really care about me? Or am I just not good enough for them? And within that, the PQ method gives you a chance to dissect that stuff and to look at that. Is that really true? It puts it, like we think about, it puts your cards on the table and lets you read your cards and say, see, this is what it really is versus the conversation going on in your mind. And lets you see that 90% of what you believe probably wasn't even true, not even close to being true. And that's a part of the PQ method. Those are the 9 topics that we go through. And that is a 6-month program. Oh, wow. Not 6 months, 6-week program. That's the beginning part of the neurofitness method. I thank you for that. And what we are about to do, we are about to bring on a very special guest, everyone. Now, this young lady, Mrs. Charmaine Sims, for the past 20 years has been a chef. And for the most recent 10, she's worked with children on ADHD, autism spectrum. And for the last 13 years, she has also been a pranic healer. I would like to bring on Mrs. Charmaine Sims. Hello, young lady. And she's still muted. Unmute yourself. All right. Can you do that, Pay? There we are.
There we go.
Hello.
How's everyone doing today?
Amazing.
Wonderful. I'm so happy and excited to be a part of this adventure with all of us today, even knowing about the different spectrums of chronic healing and also dealing with also holistic health as well, and what I'm going to touch on today.
Okay.
So,
I'm ready.
yeah. All right. So
I'll
I'm
go.
ready whenever. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So what we're going to discuss today is pretty much about holistic health and conscious parenting tied into also gut health. Okay. Do we have the slide by any chance? All right, perfect. So here we are. So yes, so this is what we're going to touch bases on today, pretty much holistic health and conscious parenting. It's going to tie it all and wrap it around together. And as you know, my name is Sherman Sims, and I've been in culinary field and conscious parenting for over 20 years all together, tied into one thing. And so yeah. Okay. So what we're going to touch on today is mostly about the gut brain, okay, and your body inner conversations. So our body have inner conversations all the time, but sometimes we're not aware of it. So we're going to touch base on brain gut highway, two-way communication system, 90% serotonin production, happy hormones made in our gut, and balanced gut, calmer, more focused mind. Sometimes we can have different kind of side effects and not even understanding about our gut and how it's so important to understand our body, and what we eat is the most important thing, because we can get, if we're not eating the correct things that we should, we can also have different like brain fogs and gut highway issues. Gut imbalance impact mood. First of all, how it really impact our mood is very, very important, because sometimes we have brain fog, anxiety all the time and not for sure, and inflammation caused by not having nutritional diets in our gut. Like, for example, my brother a few years ago was diagnosed with chronic disease, and for years he wasn't the best, health eater, and he would eat a lot of processed food. And so through time have changed, he have changed his diet and what he's eating, because He's very young, and he was in the hospital for, I say off and on, the last 2 years, like off and on, until he made the conscious decision within inside himself to change his habit eating. Because sometimes we're programmed to eat a certain way, or just not aware of, that you're actually a living being, so you need to eat living things. But if you're putting different kind of things in your body that's actually not good, and then you're not aware that you're inflaming your gut, you kind of wouldn't even know that was happening to you. So it can be like, it's not going to, sometimes it doesn't show up overnight. Usually it takes a while. It can be like a habit for years, and then one day you realize that your stomach is upset, and then you end up going to the hospital like my brother did. And so to help those things stop from happening, the best thing to do is actually to make better choices while we're eating, and also teach it our kids that, because they pick up the habit at a young age of what to eat and the right thing to eat. Like, for example, my daughters in the morning, they eat mostly, they drink tea in the morning, and then after a certain time they'll have a smoothie. And so what happens when we're sleeping at night, the best time to eat, like when you wake up, is just dehydration, right? Something that helps you get yourself together. Most people think, you just push a lot of food in, but really you need to kind of detox and take your time, right? And then say for lunch, have like a smoothie or some nuts or something light, or whatever works for you. It's a process, but something that way simple, because it can actually help you along the day. And then after 12 o'clock is a really good time to actually eat more fulfilling food than early in the morning, because your body's just waking up. It needs to adjust. It needs the right kind of fuel to be put in there. So that's so important, dealing with your gut. Like, it's very important. And so we're going to go next to nurturing the mind through food. So brain fuel food, berries, greens, nuts, anything like that. Just like I said, when you're eating healthy food, it shows up in you, right? So having a smoothie in the morning, or even just having fruits, or instead of eating, processed foods or some other snacks that we always do, we can like replace it, and they'll actually help our children in the same way to understand that as well. Because as they see us eat something, they'll be like, okay, mommy's doing this, or dad is doing this, or my grandma, however it is doing this. So let me try, because they're literally a reflection of us. So it's really good for them to see something in a more healthier choice ways. Um, and also, food impact our clear thinking, right? So sometimes we may not even think clearly because of what we ate. Kind of example of that, say if I gave my daughter, and I'm an advocate for ADHD as well. I gave my daughter, say I gave her some Skittles, right? And so 30 minutes later, she react totally different. She may be mean, her mood change. So instead of giving them things, especially dyes that I don't consider being good for kids, or anyone, give her something else that's bright colors, because bright colors actually helps also. It contracts our chakras in our bodies as well. And so if you give them, just a healthy choice, because you can even make your own item, you can make your own gummy bears and stuff like that. You just have to do a little more research when it comes to that. And also healthy fats, they can do fish, certain fishes, and greens. What I do in the morning, I do 4 limes, I squeeze them, and then I do probably about a bag and a half of spinach, and I drink that, and I don't eat anything until probably after 12 o'clock. So that is another good way to help with the brain fog, just, fuel for your brain as well. So you can think clear, you can feel clear, and you can be clear. That's how I tell my daughters and my family on a daily basis. If we want to be better, we got to act better. We have to do better. We become better. Um, how this support conscious parenting. Just being aware of body awareness, empower kids understanding family habits. You're creating a better habit, a better choice, mindful choices, food and behavior connection. And what most important thing is emotional regulation, supporting inner balance, because sometimes our kids, they cannot even be diagnosed with anything, but they inner balance, like their emotions not regulated. So they'll act out in some kind of way, and you may not even understand why they're acting out most of the time, until you kind of sometimes may sit in and be like, I really need to, take the time and say, why is Erica acting this way? And think about what she ate before then, because it could be a cause of it. And I noticed that within my own daughters, even at a young age, that's what sometimes was the problem, is what they were eating. And I'm a vegetarian and they are too, but sometimes even as vegetarians, we may eat too much starches and they just turn to sugars or corns or different processed food and not being aware of it. So going back to family habits, that's a great habit to, have for your family, is something that they can take along the way, not just in the morning, but forever. Like they'll have that habit because you're creating it with them for a lifetime. And the takeaway is pretty much food is medicine, right? We have to heal ourselves. So we have to think, like I said, we are spiritual beings, right? We're living beings. So we need to mostly have the best understanding that we need to eat living things, right? Because we were programmed to eat, cook things, right? So it have energy in it, but it's best to eat a lot of fresh foods and vegetables just to, get that energy going within ourselves. And awareness is a key. And conscious parenting, that's what it starts with. Just being aware and being present at the moment in time. Small changes matter. One meal, one moment at a time. And I'm not saying to become a vegetarian, but we can just be more conscious of what we eat. And if you want to do that journey, that's wonderful too, because you can just take your time doing it. I always tell people you don't have to rush to change. You can take one thing away and then work your way up and work your way up to taking, say you started with pork and then say, oh, I don't really eat too much steak. You stop eating steak, and then I worked my way up, which is eating fish or whatever your journey, because everyone is a little different. So I always suggest that, just make more conscious decisions about food. So in the long run, you can live a long, healthier life. And also for your kids, because you're the one they look up to most of the time, and we're programming them the way they are. So if you want to program them the right way, and so they can understand, the simple things, even like starting your own garden, or being more aware of different things that's around us that we can actually use even to start our garden, because we buy things all the time and sometimes we throw things away, but we can actually grow them back ourselves, so they can have that mindset as they grow up, because as they get older, things will change. I really appreciate everybody taking the time out today and coming and listening to all of us, and me as well. And if you like, you can reach out to me directly as well. I have a community as well. I have the link also on the next slide, and I do life coaching. I have ebooks as well. Every link is down there on the next slide. Down. Yes, right there. So, like I said, you can follow me on Instagram as well. It's Sherman S444, and I would love to sit and talk to you and your family. If you want to change something about, conscious parenting, and also ADHD for kids and spectrum. That's my advocate. That's what I love doing, helping kids, because they're a gift to the world, right? Just because they seem different, it's okay. So I really appreciate you guys today, and hopefully, if you have any questions, feel free to say anything in the.
What is positive intelligence? What is PQ?
PQ is where we help you work with your subconscious and conscious mind, where the conversation between the two, making it more positive, and that you are benefiting, because a lot of conversation within our minds isn't positive, because we were, as children, it is put into a flight or fight mode. And it is basically put there to help us stay safe. And as we grow older, different things add on to it. She's back again. I think and that's what PQ basically helps you work with the conversation within your mind and keeping it as positive as possible.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, that's similar to what Sherman was just saying about programming your mind and programming the kids and whatnot, about you have to start young. But if you haven't as an adult, you have to kind of do that reprogramming with the PQ, right?
Yes. Because it's a lot harder to go backwards But if you're willing to take that time, that 6 weeks was the best 6 weeks I could say, because prior to that, personally, I had been put on blood pressure medicine. And that was something that kind of freaked me out. And I was like, I'm going to have to take what? For how long? And she was like, forever. And I'm like, oh, whoa, that's a no-no. I'm not even, we're not even old enough to be talking about this. Don't you supposed to be 70s and 80s when you start talking about all that?
Yeah.
And she was like, no. She says, now we got people in their 30s on blood pressure medicine. I'm like, what? I said, oh, no. If you want to bring Charmaine back up, you can.
Okay.
But no, I'm just saying I don't want to leave her out. She can join in this. But now, as far as that, I think your mindset plays a significant role in how you interact with everybody and everything. And that was something for me that taught me how to de-stress, and it taught me how to think about like you talked about food and how important that is for me, and to give myself time to not be running to the fast food, and because that was causing other problems on top of doing that. And I mean, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. When I created a new nutrition plan for myself, a whole lot of things flourished. The weight loss, the different attitude, my skin, my hair, everything changed. So it was like a 360 for me. And I was telling patients while you were having a little technical difficulties that I did not think about how not eating first thing in the morning was more beneficial.
Yeah,
Give my
it's so important, like, to understand that, because most people, we're taught the opposite, right? But sometimes we have to be relearned, because you don't really supposed to eat early in the morning because your body needs to actually get going and start charging. But if we're giving it a lot of work in the morning, it's really not going to benefit you in the long run, you know? So just taking your time and just eating something just small, you know, even drinking some water with lemon, can actually help you turmeric, like things like that nature. And in the long run, you'll see the improvement. You know, you have more energy. Like, I just feel different. You just feel better, because once you change just small steps at a time and continuously doing it, you're becoming a different version of yourself. You're becoming differently. So you're gonna act differently. You're gonna feel different. You're gonna have more life into you. Just like you said, once you started to really change your mindset, it changed everything else around you and you. You know, you're not the same person that you were. So it's very important, like your mind, body, health, your spirit. Like, you have to have everything in a line, and what you're putting in you is so important, right? Because that's what will come out of you, and what do you want to receive, you know, and what you want to show others around you.
Yes, most definitely. That's one thing I was thinking in reference to questions. How you talked about your kids. Are there like 3 or 4 things you would say to a parent that would be a trigger for your kids?
Oh, definitely. So a few years ago, I stopped giving my daughters, because I knew how they are already, but I have a friend who's a doctor, and she said, Shemai, you should take another route with their eating habits. So I stopped giving them corn,
Okay.
anything with corn, processed corn, any kind of corn, grits, what they love. I had to change it to something else. Like, I give them like cream of rice, but not so much. And
Mm.
then I took away dairy,
Uh,
um, all dairy. Like,
yeah,
it's
now
like, you
I
know,
can
dairy.
dairy
We
business.
don't do milk anyway, but like cheese, anything dairy based, and then also sugars. Sugars. Those are three things that can change the way your child may act and function and you know, just everything. Those three things is very important, and then probably fast food too. You know, I mean, that's like, those four things can change you, right? If you
Yes.
just, you know, take your time, you know, and like map it out. You can even do your own little scheduling, and then you can give it to your daughters or your sons and your kids, and just say, you know, this, we're going to try something different. So let's put it on the board. And so Mondays we're going to eat this way, you know, just however it may works for you. But just take your time with it. That's all I always tell people, just take your time, and you don't have to make tremendous changes like so dramatically, but small changes, increments of it, and then it become bigger ones. Because then you won't even have like, you won't crave those things. You won't even crave the sugar, because sometimes I'm learning like most of the things when we think we're hungry, it's just cravings.
And see,
Like I've been researching more and more and say you really don't need to eat but one time a day, like when you're
it's
really
interesting you
hungry.
say that about the fast food thing. I was
Mhm.
looking at something last night in preparing for all this, and the gentleman talked about the potatoes that are purchased by McDonald's. And he
Mm.
said they buy this one specific potato, and it's funny. Uh, my daughter used to live in Idaho, but they buy this one particular potato from Idaho because it doesn't mold. And I'm like, huh? I said, I remember years ago somebody told the joke that they found a McDonald's French fry in the car and it was never molded. And it had been
Mhm.
some years and it was like stuck under something. And when they had the car detailed, they displayed the McDonald's French fry and it still looked like a good French fry. And I'm like, so if that French fry that was a good 5 to 10 years old looks like this now, what does it look like in your body?
Chemicals. It is
Yeah,
not
yeah. Like, what
not
is it
it's
doing to
not
your body?
digesting at all. Oh my
And I'm
goodness.
like, whoa. I said, you know what? I feel so glad. It's been, what, 2017 since I've had McDonald's.
Mm.
And I mean, I every now and then I might do a smoothie, but that's very rare from there because I don't even like dealing with them and knowing that. And I was like, whoa. I said, that's interesting. I said, I didn't know that that potatoes didn't mold. I didn't know that. And I said, well, I learned this is why I don't eat McDonald's. And that's
They probably put some other kind of chemical on top of it. Like when they get the potatoes, they take it to a processing plant and then they spray it down. And then
I'm
I've
quite
seen a
sure it's
video
going
like that
to, but
before.
I'm like, hey, I was just like,
Yeah.
I said, okay, Mickey D's, that's why you over there. Now, my next question for you is how how did you include your children in the things that you thought about nutrition? How did you have them participate?
Oh, okay. So knowing that two of my daughters have ADHD, so I always made them aware. I always talk to them on a regular basis, to be accountable for themselves and to know ever since they were smaller, this is what you need to eat. This is not what you need to eat. Like I always program them to think that way because they'll even remind me say, mommy, if you eat this, isn't this gonna make you act this way, or this isn't good for us, so why are we eating this? Like they'll keep me accountable because I taught them so long, like you need to eat this more so than this. Like I lived in St. Thomas. All my kids were born in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. So we have mango trees outside and avocado trees and just everything, sour sap wet. Everybody love and talk
Yeah.
about all the healing properties. So we would actually just pick it off the tree. And I tell them since we've been back here in Georgia, I say, see how it's a little, it's different, right? We can't just go outside and pick up different fruits and vegetables, and we buy them here and see the different benefits, and even it may taste different as well. But just having that I think that foundation, it don't matter when you start, you just have to start somewhere to educate them along as you're doing the journey too. Like whenever you start, if you're starting now or if you've been starting, just keep them in the loop as well because they're the ones who's gonna grow up to change the world because the kids are the future. So that's how I look at like kids and the upcoming because we are the future now and we were the generation then. I think about it within myself like wow, I remember when my grandma used to tell me these things, and now you know, I'm that adult. I'm that generation. So
Yeah,
just
but
making them aware every day of everything you do. And even when you're eating something and even watching things, like it's
mhm.
all connected.
Okay, okay. Now my last question for you is what foods do you notice give more mental clarity versus those that create like a brain fog?
Oh, definitely foods with dyes. Anything we have dyes, red 40, blue, all those foods. And they have a lot of things. Like you may not even know it you have to really just look at the back of the box and look at ingredients, because it may say on the front of it, for example, it might say nutritional and natural, but then until you turn it over, it still have those same basic sugars and bleached flour and things like that, and natural flavor, because natural flavor is not natural. That's just a flavoring, right? So you just have to do, like I said, you have to just continue to do your research and just be more conscious. That's just start with being conscious, right? That's just being a conscious person. Once you do receive information, you just have to take it with you in a way that's going to benefit you and your family in the
Oh,
long run.
okay. All right. I appreciate that. And I thank you. And I will
Thank
be.
you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. You will definitely be back, my dear. I appreciate you. And I do. Can I ask one last question? So
Sure.
we have something in common. Our
Oh,
praying,
chronic healing.
yes. And I know
Yes.
that to be like I got something in between there, but what prompted you to be a pranic healer, may I ask?
Oh, sure. I actually lived in St. Thomas, so that's where my journey kind of started when I was in my early 20s. And I used to go to a group called Satsang. So we used to all come together and meditate, and we have different speakers that come around the world. And I'm really intuitive, and like, so a speaker came, a pranic healer speaker came, and she was saying, okay, we're having courses this weekend. I was like, wow, I would love to, get more into energy work and stuff like that. And so that's how it pretty much happened for me back in 2013. And it was kind of natural for me, because it's like, I kind of remember it. I believe in past lives and,
Oh yes.
Akashic records and things like that. So it's something like I dig back into that I already had, the power to do. But I do it with my daughters as well. And then with the food too, you can
Yes.
cleanse the food and stuff that you eat too,
Oh, I'm
as well.
that it's going to be a forever thing, I think, as far as the continuous learning. They've got so many different aspects to it. That's going
Yeah.
after I finish with hypnotherapy and NLP. So if you're
Hmm.
able to stay, I'll see you soon. And thank
Okay.
you very much, my dear. I appreciate your time. And I want you to have an amazing afternoon after this. And we
Thank
will
you for
talk.
having me.
Oh,
Really
you're very
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate you for giving of your time.
Okay.
We have something that is very interesting to me. And it's been something throughout the years that I've dabbled in and didn't know I was dabbling in. And that is hypnotherapy and NLP. Now, I don't know, you don't have to bring up the slides, but you can. The one slide, no, that's pranic healing. Same thing, because those are about chakras. Now, basically, I'm going to start off with NLP because that one I feel is the like the prequel to hypnotherapy. Now, all of this is my opinion, and that's something I forgot as a disclaimer coming on today. Is that this is basically for educational purposes. I don't think any of the speakers claim to be experts on anything. We are giving of our opinion to you and to try to help guide you the best we can. And with the NLP, and it stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. Now, neuro is the nervous system through which we process experiences via our senses. Now, we have several senses. I'm going to get into that specifically in a second. Now, next is the linguistic part. Now, the linguistic part is the language. Now, that is verbal and nonverbal. We use codes, we organize, and we give them meaning to each experience that we have. And last but not least, excuse me, but programming. Programming is an ability to discover and intentionally update the subconscious programs within your mind. And it gives about your neurology and has you look for a specific result from whatever the experience was. That's NLP, the breakdown of that.
Now, next, what I'm going to discuss with you is getting a little more specific into NLP. Now, there are several different aspects of NLP. There are where using NLP can work with changing your fear into your energy, changing your doubt into confidence, changing your anxiety into enthusiasm. And the most one I think everyone has a little bit of, some a lot than others, is procrastination. And that changes procrastination into inspiring you to action, to doing whatever it is that you keep running from or putting off. Now, within that, not hypnotherapy, NLP uses language. It uses it in such a way that it is more persuasive to get your subconscious to work with your conscious, because your subconscious is basically trying to keep you safe from not doing anything that would cause you harm. And it could be like when you go to get on rides at any amusement park. It'll keep you like, oh no, you can't do that. In that sense, that's like a fear. Or if you're scared of dogs, it'll keep you from going around dogs. I mean, it could be any number of things. It could even get to the point of, like, if you have insomnia, you put yourself in such a way where you can't go to sleep. And that's just a construct within your mind, having you thinking you aren't capable of sleep. And within the NLP, that can be brought out and corrected using language or even using nonverbal things. Now, next, we're going to move on to the other aspect, which comes after NLP, which is hypnotherapy. Now, hypnotherapy has about 9 different aspects when you look at it from a clinical aspect. It is clinical hypnotherapy. Now, there it focuses and addresses specific mental and emotional disorders, like behaviors, and it works in a clinical setting. And it also uses like cognitive behavioral therapy. That's one of the aspects of the clinical side of hypnotherapy. Now, an example of that is it helps manage pain, it helps manage anxiety, and when you heard me talking a second ago, it helps manage phobias. Now, hypnosis and NLP, in my opinion, work hand in hand, because you're usually using the language to be persuasive to the subconscious to believe that it is possible to work with the conscious and correcting whatever the issue may be. Whether, like I said, it could be a phobia, whether it could be some anxiety, or it could just be something that you're going through and the way you may feel about something, a particular behavior. Next, you have the analytical hypnotherapy, which is hypnoanalyzing. Within that approach, you explore the cause of certain issues. Now, usually you guide the client towards understanding the origins of their problems. Now, that is, in my mind, something that I personally don't do with my clients, because I don't want to have my clients rehashing whatever the particular situation may be. Because I feel personally, when it comes to that, it's like I don't want to keep pulling at the scab and picking at the scab of whatever the situation is, to keep bringing it up. But that is my personal opinion. But I'm just giving you a breakdown of some of the things that can be used as far as with hypnosis. And often it is considered a more in-depth approach using it in the analytical way. Now, the one that is most interesting to me is the Erickson method. Now, there is a gentleman years ago who was one of the beginning hypnotherapists, and This gentleman, he used neurolinguistic programming as a basis for all that he did in hypnotherapy. And even though at the time it wasn't created, he still was using language as the basis of his way of communicating with his clients. Now, to go about that is done in a suggestive way, where he would access the client's inner resources and their self-knowledge of a particular situation and something that may have happened to them. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on out here. There's some kind of noise going on. Sorry about that. Let me put my pods. That was throwing me off a little bit. Um, Now, the Erickson method also focused on the individual's experience and the client's unique way of thinking. We all have our different ways of looking at particular situations that we go to or go through because we're all individuals. And that's the one unique thing about hypnotherapy. It can be focused on an individual basis. It's not a broad spectrum of things. It can be delved into, like I talked about, a particular phobia, or it could be put into insomnia, or it could be put into whether or not you have, let's see, let me think of something that would be a phobia. Like I talked about dogs, how you could be fearful of dogs, and that could be something that happened in your childhood. Like maybe you were a little kid and a dog, kind of scared you, and it has came through over the years and become something even bigger than what it initially started out as, because you gave that a whole life of its own in your head and made it more than it really was. And after a session or two with hypnotherapy, it can go back to being as if it never was. Because the one thing we don't really think about in our minds is time does not actually exist. Time is a construct that society has placed on everything. In our mind, it could have happened yesterday or just now. Time is not necessarily an actual thing. And that's the one thing that hypnotherapy and NLP have that are more beneficial than some of the other things that, people use, as far as, going to a therapist, going to a psychologist, and things of that nature. But again, that's my opinion, but everyone does things differently. Now, there is another one called regressive hypnotherapy. Now, hypnotherapy in that sense is it takes the person's access to their past and goes back and does the correction there. Like I was talking about, like as a kid, say maybe a dog did something to you when you were a child. We take you all the way back to that moment and clear it up to where you are today. So again, it's like it never happened because time is not relevant in the mind. Now, as far as that, it could be like we had talked about before about past lives. I believe, excuse me, that we've each had one, that we've each had different experiences, and that they change us. And it necessarily may not be us specifically. We may have had a family lineage of things happening, and it just shows up in our generation. And those things have contributed to the way that we carry ourselves, the way we deal with situations, the way we interact with people, and things of that nature. So now the regressive hypnotherapy deals with that. And like I said, there are so many bases for hypnotherapy. Now, the next, I think they, in this particular group of coming from the book that I was reading, I can't remember the name of the book. I apologize. I forgot to write that down. But they gave me 10. And one that I find the most interesting is the solution based. The solution based hypnotherapy is focusing on one particular thing that the person has that they want to change to a positive. And in incorporating NLP helps create that positive change. It's just like, say, you have a habit of biting your nails and you want to get rid of that habit because you think like it's not something, that's good. And I'm hurting myself because I'm doing it to the fact that there aren't any nails on my fingers. And you want to get rid of that habit. And doing that using the solution based hypnotherapy, that can clear that up. So next is interesting. Now, I don't know many people who really do this, but it is possible for self hypnosis. Now, self hypnosis involves you putting yourself into a what is called a hypnotic state, where you're doing almost like a meditation. And usually that's done by self guided recordings. And you're listening to a conversation via probably most likely headphones because that's the most way to for the sound and everything to resonate in your mind is to do it with headphones. And that's again my opinion. And it's been proven that when you have the headphones, you're more focused and listening. You give it more attention. And as far as your mind is concerned, not necessarily your person. Usually when you are doing this, you are stationary. You are probably majority of the time probably laying down where you're not able to like if you fall asleep, you're not able to fall and hurt yourself. So majority of the time when you are doing any type of NLP or hypnotherapy, you are in a stationary state and you are somewhere where you're not able to fall over and hurt yourself in any kind of way. And then next, the most interesting of all, and I talk about this, is suggestion hypnotherapy. That's where someone suggests using the power of suggestion. Now, this method usually is a direct suggestions to influence thoughts or behaviors. And it can also be addressing a specific problem or promoting some positive type of change. Now, that could be getting you to speak more positively. That could be giving you like suggestion words, like when you find yourself feeling fearful of a dog, you'll think, hey, maybe that dog, or not even maybe, that dog is friendly. And it gives you the sense of confidence and that you're not fearful of that particular dog. Now, the next is behavioral therapy or hypnotherapy. That is where it focuses on changing a specific behavior or a specific habit. Again, like I talked about the nail biting, or you might have a behavior of where you are constantly fidgeting. You are, you can't sit still. And they even talk about where it helps with smoking. We can get rid of that. And then the next would be any type of eating disorders. Now, usually that's someone who specializes in those particular areas. And last but not least, there's the traditional hypnotherapy. Now, that's when you use a form of hypnosis that has suggestions, commands, and it reduces the possibility of thoughts and behaviors from popping up. It keeps you on the straight and narrow in a more positive way of being. And it also can work with pain management, help you relax, and it also works with reducing stress. Now, that's the end of the hypnotherapy and NLP. Now, we also have included something within our break session. I want you to take time to listen to that. It's something I found that's important. Oh, oops, I'm sorry. She reminded me that about questions. We have a few seconds for some questions. Miss Patience, do you have any? Or Miss Sherman, since you're still available?
Yeah, we had questions scheduled for the NLP,
Okay.
and how does that really help in comparison to talk therapy, right? How does that help when it comes to changing and creating behavior change?
And see, within that, NLP basically will correct the, like, say, when I talked about the person having fear of dogs,
Mm-hmm.
it will take the person back to that actual event. And within that, it will take the power out of that event, give that event less priority. So when that person confronts a dog, it's not immediately a problem. It can be just like, oh, a dog, okay, and keep on moving. Or in the case of, say, you're having insomnia, you're having sleep problems, and there could be a suggestion like a time of night. When that time of night comes, you find yourself becoming sleepy, and you'll be like, okay, oh, it's 10 o'clock, it's time for bed. And by the time you get yourself situated, by 10:15, you're asleep
Yeah,
because you've changed your mind and given your mind permission to go to sleep.
that
Because
makes sense.
those are some of the things we forget. And like I say, as far as time is not relevant in the mind, time is a construct that society has created. In the mind, like I said, the child having the dog attack, it could have happened yesterday or that same day in your mind. It's not something that's relative. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. All right, we're gonna play a little video, and then we got a 10-minute break, and then I'll be speaking on financial mindset, and we've got a few other topics. So enjoy.
Lately, I've been feeling so lost. My soul is calling, but I can't hear her. When I wake up to my reflection, it's a stranger in the mirror. It's a scary feeling when your ratchet side no longer resonates. Listening to my old words, I find that she and I just don't relate. I don't even like the men I used to date. And I've been crying, feeling strange because I don't know who I am no more when everything about me's changed. Nobody talks about the grief you feel for someone who's still alive. Do you send condolences or congratulations when those old parts of you die? For so long, I just thought I was dying. Now I'm in the middle feeling torn because the old me had to rest in peace for this new version to be born. I think I hold back on my growth because I'm scared of what comes after. Turning the page isn't that easy when you don't know what's in that chapter, but I've seen what's in my old books though. I know what my old behaviors will get me, and I can evolve out of them patterns if the fears of the unknown just let me. They say you're going to lose a lot of people when you start climbing to the top. And just because it gets lonely, it doesn't mean that you should stop. I've been so intentionally lonely these days because the path I'm on isn't meant for group conversation. For some eras of your growth, you can only bloom in isolation. So it's just been months of being by myself, locked inside my room. The caterpillar season ended, and I was forced into my cocoon. In the beginning, is confusion. And just when you think you're about to die, the chrysalis cracks open and reveals this butterfly. But the scary part of emerging is you don't know what taking flight brings, and everyone tells you change is beautiful, but butterflies can't see their wings, and everything happens so fast once you start moving with intention. You have to hold space for your evolution and give in to your ascension. You have to accept that you're not the you that you know and step back and see who's at the core. Because this person you're becoming is not someone you've met before, so let them soar. Let them become who they're meant to be, even if you don't understand it. Because a life that's lived in purpose ain't never gonna look how you planned it. It's 3 parts to every journey that start, middle, and end. And you'll never know what point you're at until you're brave enough to begin. So go ascend.
Well, everyone. That is something that caught my eye on TikTok. And there's something else that goes to this. I want you to surround yourself with people that push you to do better. No drama or negativity, just higher goals and higher motivation. Good times, positive energy. No jealousy or hate. Simply bring out the absolute best in each other. And that came from Mr. Warren Buffett. That's what I'm trying to present to everyone through this transitional summit. Now, next, what I'm going to talk about is something that has been brought to my attention and has become something that's been near and dear to my heart, and that's the pranic healing. That has changed me in ways I didn't know were possible. And now what you see on the screen now is, as you heard Miss Francis talk about some of the chakras. Now this description is a more well-rounded version of chakras, because most of us think of the 7 chakras. And to be totally honest, that's all I believed at first, until after taking the pranic healing course and finding out there are thousands of chakras within our body, from our fingers, our ears, under our eyes, our nose. It is just a plethora of chakras. Now, what this does, it breaks it down into the ones that are on the basic things that we knew that we use in healing for pranic healing. You have the crown chakra, which is at the very top. Then you have the forehead chakra. Then you have the ajna. And next is the throat. And then you have the heart, which there are 2 versions of the heart. You have the front heart, and you have what's called the front solar plexus. And next you have the navel, which is at your belly button. And then of all is called the sex chakra. Now, usually they call it the root chakra, but it's called in pranic healing the sex chakra. And then at the back, where you'll see in the back of the body, it's called the back heart. And underneath the back heart, you have the back solar plexus. And next, you have the back spleen chakra. Oh, did I skip one? No, I didn't. And after that, there is the Ming Ming. And after the Ming Ming is called the basic chakra. Now, all those chakras represent the energy flowing through your body. Now, the next slide is going to talk about what each of those chakras actually does. And it gets into a lot more specifics as far as, their function. Now, the crown chakra is like basically your brain and your pineal gland. Now, those are that's the organ and the function. Now, the diseases that are associated with that are your pineal glands, your brain, your physical, and your psychological. Having like, what do you want? Like schizophrenia, um, other type of brain issues falls under the crown chakra. And next you have the forehead chakra. The forehead also is a combination with the crown chakra because it also deals with the pineal gland as well as the nervous system. Now that one, it is related to basic diseases dealing with your nervous system. Now, it also gets a little particular, like most people think that's like the center of everything is your forehead, but you've got 2. There's your forehead and your ajna. And then the ajna deals with the pituitary, the endocrine gland. I always get that one tongue tied. And it deals with the controlling the other major chakras, is what the ajna basically does. Now, that one, the diseases around that are like cancer, your allergies, your different types of asthma, and can't say the word diseases again. Diseases that are related to the endocrine gland. And yeah, I'm saying that right. Me and these glands always get a little distorted. Now, your throat chakra deals with the throat, your thyroids, your parathyroid glands, and your lymphatic system. Now, that one, it can be any related throat issues, like where you'll get goiters or you'll get like bad sore throat. You can even get like lymph nodes in your throat. Or I forget I can't think of what that one throat thing is, but it's like, polyps in your throat. That's one thing you get. And then where you lose your voice. And also, it has something aspects of asthma related to that one. Excuse me. Now, your heart We are most likely aware of that. But there's the front heart, and like I said, there's a back heart. But the front heart directly deals with the heart itself. And it's more along the lines you have the thymus and the circulatory system for the front heart. Now, the heart on both the front and back deals with your heart, your circulatory, the the ailments, and things like dealing with your lungs is a part of the heart chakra as well. Now, for your back heart, and this is more interesting, the back heart involves not only the heart, but it involves the lungs as well as the thymus gland. Now, the solar plexus is one of the ones that is more emotional related because you've got the front and the back as that as well. Now, the front is usually located in the hollow between your ribs, the hollow area. Now, in the back, it's located in just like the basic back area, like when your body goes to bow, like just below your neckline. It's like in the middle of your chest, and they kind of like back to one another. Now, these two, they are your energy clearinghouse center. They control healing, cooling of your body. Now, that also includes the pancreas, the liver, your diaphragm, your large and small intestines, your appendix, your stomach, and to a certain degree, some of the other organs. Not all of them, just a few. And it kind of depends on what's going on, whether or not your solar plexus is involved when we do the clearing for the chakras. Now, what that generally diseases come with that is like your high cholesterol, your diabetes, any type of ulcers, uh, your rheumatoid arthritis, your hypertension, your art, your heart ailments. Certain heart ailments deal with the front and back chakras as well. And there are other disease related situations that can pertain to the front and back chakra. Because, like I said, they are the clearinghouse. So, a lot of things that basic things are always including the front and back chakra when you're doing your healing with pranic healing. Usually, those two are always incorporated. Now, the next is your spleen. Now, your spleen is found between your abdomen and your front solar plex and your navel chakra. And that's where your spleen is located. And that one is a major point for air prana or the vital, I'm going to always pronounce this wrong, gobala. It energizes the other major chakras within the body. That is the primary use for the spleen chakra. Now, that is also, you have a back spleen, and I forgot about that. That I knew it was something I forgot about when it came to the chakras. I forgot about that. And then in here, you can like barely see it from this thing. It's not doing too good with my eyes today. I apologize. But that the spleen deals with low vitality, your weakness, and certain blood ailments. Okay, I heard you. I'm gonna pop through this kind of quickly. You have the navel chakra, which deals with your small and large intestines, and it's like constipation, appendicitis, your low vitality. Then you have your Ming Ming that deals with your kidneys and your adrenal glands. So that any issues with those two items. Your sex chakra has to do with like your bladder, your legs, your energy. And that also has to deal with your high blood pressure, your kidneys. And then last but not least is the basic chakra. The basic chakra deals with your adrenal glands, your sex organs, and it energizes the whole physical body, like your bones, your muscles, your blood, your organs. And now with that one, it has a lot of different things that could cause problems if that one's not correct. You can have leukemia, cancer, allergies, asthma, some sex issues, arthritis, back problems, psychological issues, a lot of things. When that is not correct or not in alignment, it can cause some severe issues within your body. Now, Miss Patience, I see you're saying we are ready for questions.
So for pranic healing, what would a typical session look like with a client? What would they feel?
Normally, what I do, I usually talk to my clients briefly about, what's going on. A lot of people are like we've had headaches, the one like the ear infections, we have sinus issues. Normally, what I do is I let my client know when I work with you, I usually like to do it while they're sleeping because I don't want them focused on what is she doing? Is she doing it now? What is this and what is that? And I ask them for like the day or so prior and like 2 days after to record how they feel. And what I do, I usually do a scan and I clear out everything. And then I focus on the specific problem. Like if it's the sinus, I usually will focus on the forehead chakra, the ajna, and the solar plexus front and back. And when I clear those out, normally everything, it's like somebody gives you a flushing. Like they're like you feel somebody that just is like washing their hands over you. And like how I don't know, did you feel in the sound bath how you feel like the vibration of the sound vibrating through you?
Definitely. There's weird like tingles. It's definitely giving
Yes.
ASMR when she did that, for sure.
Yes.
So
And
it's kind of
that's
like
the
that.
yes, it gives you that like somebody gave you like a wash, an internal wash. And you feel tingly, and even when you're in person it's like that. It feels a little more tingly, like almost like I'm going through and I'm touching your body but not actually touching you because I'm clearing out your energy and giving it a refresher.
Yeah, you're touching the energies within me. I got you.
Yes. Yes.
So how do energy imbalances show up physically or emotionally for someone, like so they can realize when they need to come in for a healing?
Well, see, like a lot of times think about when just even a minor headache, even when you're just like think about like when you have an ear infection and you've gone and you've done what the doctor told you and you got the drops and everything, but you still feel like you're off balance when you're walking.
Mhm.
It's like you still feel like you're not quite you, and that means there could be something going on that the doctor didn't address. Because
That makes
like
sense.
most doctors, they're just looking at the surface. They're not delving deep into the person. And usually most doctors, like, I hate saying this, but you got 15 minutes. And you better be specific about whatever it is for them to, diagnose you. Whereas most pranic healing sessions are going to take from, I'll say, 30 to an hour.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Even small imbalances can let you know that you need to come get a healing. Okay. And then, but how does pranic healing work remotely? Is it effective if you are doing it through a distance?
Oh, most definitely. I have been a pranic healer for officially 1 year in March, and my very first client, she was in Austria. And I just did my first podcast a few weeks ago. Or matter of fact, last Sunday it aired. And she was my first client. And her and I had already been working with each other through another course. And she had been complaining about her ear infections for like 8 years. And she's
Mhm.
like, it got to the point where the doctors were like, it's in your head. We can't help you because she lives at such a high altitude in Austria where they own a ski resort. So they're constantly around moisture. And it was this constant bother. And she was like, I'm at my wit's end. She said, I'm tired of bumping into stuff and I don't know what to do. And I was like, you know what? I just finished the class. You want to be my first client? And she's like,
The guinea
okay,
pig.
Diane, what you got? And I'm like, look,
Definitely anything was going to help her after eight
yeah,
years.
she says, I will try anything at this point. And I was like, okay, all right. I said, all right, Miss Brandy, I got you. I want you to write down how you feel. I started the class. It was a Saturday and Sunday. I said, come Sunday, I want by Monday or Tuesday, I want you to let me know. So this was on Friday, and she called me Tuesday morning. I don't even remember what time it was her time. And it was, if I remember, it was like crack of dawn for her. And she like, what did you do? She says, oh my God. She got one of those camera things and she put it in it. She says, there's nothing in my ear. Nothing.
Oh,
And
she showed you? She showed
no,
you
she didn't show me. She says,
you
I
looked
look.
herself.
She says,
Gotcha.
I look. She tested both ears. She's like, oh my God. She's like whispering and everything because she didn't want to wake up the house and the
Yeah.
kids. She's like, you are my friend for life. I will, I will, I can't wait to meet you because we met that following July last year in person. And she first thing she does, she runs up to me and she hugs me. She says, thank you, because it's still, I don't have any, I haven't had an ear infection. She says, you are my angel. She says, thank God for you. And I was like, no, you have to thank God for Jeff Noble and Master Chower Katsui for creating this.
You showed
Because
me.
yeah, and they showed me. So this was just one of those happenstances for me that I've been letting everybody know since I started on this journey. It has brought so many important people into my life. It has changed so much. And I use it on you guys and you don't know.
No, I know you've done some before too. I know you did one on Deja as well. So
And I keep you guys as best in my mind. And they're like, well, you know, the goal for the Noble Touch out of Brooklyn is to have a healer in every household.
wow,
And I
that's
told him that's
really
a big ask, but you know, all we got to do.
yeah. Well,
I
that was
mean,
all
but
I
they're all over the
heard for
country.
scheduling. Yeah, no, I know. I met Brandon as well too, and I know Sherman is one as well. So they're working
And
on it.
and
They're getting to that
oh,
goal.
believe me, they went to Senegal last year. They're all over the place, and it's been amazing.
Yeah,
I've as I told them, I found my tribe. They can't get rid of me.
not at all.
Too
Not at
late.
all.
So
Well, that was all.
their motto is be seen, be heard, but above all, be yourself.
Definitely, definitely. I know that's the hard part for sure.
Yes, and we're about to see someone else now. I have brought my child out of her little shell. So it is her turn now. And I have to do her intro. And I'm
Oh, you want
sorry,
me to drop
Mom.
down so you can introduce me
Of
officially?
course, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes,
hold
we
on.
have to do that. We are professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, this young lady has worked herself into learning so many different things. She is a insurance saleswoman. She is a web designer. She is a notary public, as well as a linguist in languages. She speaks Spanish and French, and she is a mother of three beautiful grandbabies of mine. And I want to introduce my eldest child, Mrs. Patience Dendy. Woo!
Wow, thank you
Where's
for
the
that.
applause? You forgot the
You might
applause.
as well have just said my. Well, here, hold on. There we go. Oh, it didn't play. That's why.
Oh,
Delay
there
the
we
race.
go. Oh, I left out
I just
something
said my
though.
full government name at that point.
Yeah, I left out one thing. She does Medicare too.
Well, that's the insurance part. Yes, yes. All that I can hook you up. I've done all the things for
Yes.
sure.
Hey,
Well,
we got to promote.
for sure, for sure. Well, I'm gonna drop you
Oh,
down.
I did forget one thing. You are now a financial young lady, a financial guru.
Yes, that is why I'm here today. I'm gonna drop her down before she says any more of my business at this point. Because anything else, she may just tell you some embarrassing story of me as a kid. So no more, no more. Yes, thank you, Mom. I am going to be talking about finances and your mindset. Like, what does that have to do? How can you adjust your mindset and specifically when it comes to credit. There's so many different aspects to your mindset and things like that. But specifically with money, I'm going to talk about credit today and how you can rewire it and empower yourself with your money through credit and personal funding and things like that. So like my mom kind of mentioned about me, I am a credit repair agent. I also help with business funding. I mentor notaries around the world. I've got a few, well, within the United States. I've got a few mentees that I work with. I've taught them how to help build their business and be successful, because I know a lot of people have to have multiple businesses in order to survive nowadays. So we're going to kind of talk about understanding your credit report specifically, right? So what is it, right? Your credit report is the report that these credit companies use. Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, the lenders, you might have to look at it with your employers, and even if you're trying to rent a property, they're going to pull your credit report to see, are you a credit-worthy borrower, right? So you're going to see different things within these companies and how they report. So you're going to see, oh, why did this just... You're going to have all these different companies that are reporting different things. So on your credit report, you're going to have your personal information on there. That's going to be the first thing you're going to see, right? You're going to see things like your name, phone number, address, your social, date of birth, and even your employer is going to be mentioned on here. Okay, and as well as credit accounts that you may have open, either open or closed. So if you've ever opened anything with a company, it is going to be listed on there till kingdom come, unless you are able to get it removed for inaccuracies or whatever reason it may be. It's going to show the date that it opened. It's going to show the amount that you were borrowing from them and how much you currently owe. If you currently are in good status with that company, are you late on your payments? All of those things are in there. It's going to show any inquiries. If you have ever asked a company for money, it's going to show it on there. There's different kinds of inquiries. You can have a soft inquiry or a hard inquiry. Soft inquiries are just you feeling the waters. Are you actually going to qualify for the funding? And they're also going to have the hard inquiries. If you actually ended up opening an account with them, they're officially looking into your credit, seeing if it is going to be something that's going to allow you to borrow. Public records are also going to be on your credit report. So if you have purchased a home, if you filed bankruptcy before, when it was filed, when it was settled, all of those kinds of things are going to be on your credit report, as well as collections, so, or charge-offs. If you have ever stopped paying a company and they're fighting trying to find you, it's going to be on there too. They're going to report to your credit and it's going to drop your score, right? So some common things you're going to see wrong on your credit report are going to be personal details. So you might see wrong names, wrong middle initials, wrong addresses, old addresses, wrong phone numbers, all those kinds of things are the things that you can get disputed to make sure that your credit report is accurate and you're not getting denied for things, as well as wrong accounts. Maybe the balances are wrong as well. Maybe they're not reporting the payments properly on your report. So all those things are things that you have to look at and make sure that they're correct. There's so many pieces to your credit report, and if they're wrong, they can deny you, and you don't want to get denied. Have you guys ever seen any incorrect things on your credit reports? I don't know if there's anybody in here, but I'm sure I have. I know I've seen them. I have old addresses from like 10 years ago on my credit report, and I've had to get them removed. I've gotten my student loans removed off of my own credit because they're not supposed to report that because that's disclosing my own private information. So there's so many different things that you can adjust on your credit report, even though it's already on there. And it's important to review your credit report regularly. So you're making sure you're not getting denied because you thought your score was at a 700, but it dropped down to a 550 because you weren't staying up on your credit. It's very important, and that's some of the things we have to learn and pay attention to. Okay, and next, I'm going to go into understanding your score, right? So there's a range that you can actually have your score in. So it can go up to 800 all the way down into the 300s. And it's made up of these 5 different pieces, right? So you have your payment history, your credit age, inquiries, credit usage, and your credit mix. Okay, all of these things you have to pay attention. And it's really important to pay attention to your payment history because it is 192 points of your whole score, right? So if you have late payments, that can drastically drop your score, right? So you got one payment and you're like, oh, why did my score just drop 50 points? It's because this is made up of such a large portion, as well as your credit usage. Your credit usage is 165 points of your credit score. So if you're not, if your utilization is extremely high, over 30% is considered high, it can drop your score. If you're keeping it between 10 and 20%, that will help improve your score. But those are the kind of things you have to pay attention to. Inquiries, credit age, and credit mix are on the lower side. They do carry a few points as well, but payment history and credit usage are super important when it comes to your credit score. Definitely something you want to pay attention to. Now, when it comes to your mindset with money, you have to adjust the way that you think. Instead of saying, I'm bad with money, you're going to think on the positive side, I'm learning to manage money wisely. Or if you're thinking, I'll never be debt free. I've definitely had that mindset because my student loans are astronomical. So many student loans. But I've been able to remove them off of my credit so I can pay them off. And I feel privately kind of I can pay them off without them damaging my credit, right? So instead of never being debt free, I'm building that plan, right? I'm working actively to use my credit as a tool to help me fund things versus thinking negatively about, oh, I don't have enough money. I'm going to plan to make sure that I'm working things off, right? If we don't have a plan, we're not going to be able to improve things, right? The credit can become a burden instead of a tool. Okay, so some steps that you can take. You can, oh, let me move this so you can actually see the, there, you can actually see the QR code. So steps that you can actually take is checking your credit score regularly, your credit report. You can get one for free if you use this QR code right here. You can check your score. It will give you a quick snapshot and it will allow you to check your report. Once you get it, you want to review it and see if there are any inaccuracies on there. So your address, is it wrong? Is it up to date? Is your phone number? Is your name right? All of those things need to be correct. First, you want to make sure your personal information is correct, and then you want to start disputing, do you have collections on your account? Do you have late payments? Do you have bankruptcies and things like that? Start disputing those so when you want to apply or need to apply for additional, the company that's giving that score is My Free Score. My Free Score has a credit snapshot that will give you, will connect to that QR code that I have on the screen there. And then after you, or not after, you can do it during as well while you're disputing those accuracies because it takes time. It's not in a month or two, you're not going to repair your credit. Like say you start tomorrow, you're not going to repair it by June, most likely. It's going to take you some time. your credit didn't get bad yesterday, so it's not going to get better tomorrow, right? It's going to take you some time for sure. It takes a few months depending on how many disputes you have to work on. So that's something to kind of keep in mind and manage your expectations with, especially for paying those balances down. If you've got a high utilization, it's going to take you a few months to really budget, maybe get some additional income coming in so you can pay your balances down. And then once you're kind of starting to see your score rise, you can add some positive accounts. You can start adding like Kick, Self, Rock Financial. There's some really great companies that will help build your credit up. Secured credit cards are a great option to help build your credit up. I know it doesn't, secured cards don't sound sexy, they don't sound nice, but it is a way to build your credit back up if you have dropped it down, or you're new to credit. Maybe say you're, fresh out of high school, in college, and you're trying to build your credit. You want to start small and work your way up. And some other tools you can use. Credit Karma is a love-hate. Credit Karma is not always the most accurate, but it does show you TransUnion and Equifax. The credit reporting agencies do have their own websites as well. You can go on Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax.com, and you can check it individually there, as well as annualcreditreport.com. You can get one free every year, as well as staying on top of your budget. If you're not budgeting your money monthly, if not more often than that, honestly, you should be checking daily, but I know that can get overwhelming. YNAB is a good one. Mint is a good one. Rocket Money. They all have apps that you can download to your phone that will help you budget. Not only Rocket Money also has the option to cancel subscriptions, because I know we've all signed up for a subscription at a point and forgot that it was on our account. And Rocket Money has a cool feature to where it will cancel subscriptions for you. So that's really nice. I personally, I've used some of these. I've used Rocket Money in the past and Mint as well, but I'm old school. I really like to manually write mine down. I have it over here on my desk, and I will sit there and I'll make sure. I feel like it holds me more accountable. That is one old school thing I will do. I do have it digital as well, but it's just something about writing it down that helps me balance it a little bit more. So I can make sure that my bills are taken care of, and if there's a little bit over to save, I'll do that as well too. Doing high yield savings, I don't mention that in here, but that is also a really good tool to use to help build up your savings as well. But that was all of my presentation. Seamless Consulting Solutions is the credit repair and business funding company that we have. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Seamless Consulting Solutions. What else? We offer credit repair and business funding, right? So if your credit is in a good space, we can help your business get 50 to 100,000, if not more, and business funding. Will help you put all those things into place to make sure you have a proper structure for your business, as well as if you don't have the credit in place, you don't have the foundation in place, we'll start you there first. So you have to book at seamlessconsultingsolutions.com. You can book with us, and we can help review and see if we can help you guys out.
Today at the Transitional Summit, we opened up new pathways for growth through sound bath, Qigong, mental fitness, nutrition, NLP, and hypnotherapy, as well as pranic healing. We finished out the day with financial fitness. This wasn't just about learning, it was about stepping into lasting transformation. If you are ready to deepen what you started today, I invite you to book a one-on-one call with me at innerglowwellness.biz. Together, we will personalize your journey to accelerate your growth. Your journey doesn't end here. It is just the beginning.